Hello and welcome to my channel, In Search of Wonder. My name is Anne and this is my weekly wrap-up. So those were some clips from my walk, our walk I should say. My husband and I took a walk a week or so ago. I meant to include it in my last weekly wrap-up, but then I did not have a weekly wrap-up because I replaced it with my 500 subscribers Q&A celebration. So by the way, stay tuned to the end of this video and there will be an announcement of the giveaway winner. Anyway, so we took a walk and saw some fun things. There was, I don't know what kind of seed that is, that looks like cotton, that comes off a tree and it's like covering the ground. It looked a little bit like snow. We saw that on our walk. And also the honeysuckle. I wish that I could share that smell with you if you don't have honeysuckle near you because it smells amazing. I have a couple things already to share that I've read. I say already because you're watching this on Sunday in June. But I am filming this on Monday, which is Memorial Day, hence the Memorial Day wear. It is Memorial Day, and currently I have a quiet moment. My children are at the movies with their aunties. My husband is max relaxing, and so I have his birthday dinner in the Instant Pot. So if you hear gargling or beeping, whatever, that's what's going on there. But I did finish a couple books over the weekend, so I wanted to talk about those. First of all, The Blue Castle. I read The Blue Castle with Courtney Reeds and Morgan at Morgan's Endless Bookshelf. And we had a fantastic time chatting with each other about this book as we read through it. Our plan was that we read 5 chapters a day and then discussed them. And I felt like almost every 5 chapters, there was a twist or a turn in the story that was not always entirely expected, or I might have expected it, but not in the way that it happened. And I realized as I was reading this that I had read it before, many years ago when I was a teenager, a young teenager. I loved Anne of Green Gables, and so I read everything by Lucy Maud Montgomery that I could find. And I wasn't sure if I had read this one or not, but I know that I did because it was definitely ringing bells in my memory. And there was one important kind of plot, not really plot twist, but reveal, I guess, that I remembered early on as I was reading. I was like, oh yeah, I know what is going to happen here. So I had read it, but I didn't remember much about the details of it. And I don't even remember my impression of if I enjoyed it or not. This time around, I definitely enjoyed it. And I had admired it. Lucy Maud Montgomery, in her Anne books and like the Story Girl series and those books, they're very like innocent, childlike, child appropriate books. This is not that it's inappropriate or anything like that, but it's definitely dealing with more mature themes. It's a more mature approach to the story. The characters are more mature. Like the girl is 29 at the beginning of the story. And it's just dealing with heavier themes. It's a little bit of a darker edge to it. So I really enjoyed that aspect. I enjoyed seeing that side of Lucy Maud Montgomery. And while I am thinking of it, as I'm holding up this cover, I really love the job that the illustrator did with our main character here, Valency. I feel like she is drawn exactly as she is described in the book, especially towards the end of the story. Her hair and just the way she's described and the look on her face, everything just is really just a perfect depiction of Valency as she's described in the story, which doesn't always happen with cover illustrations. So I really like that. Cover illustration by Jackie Oakley. So this story follows Valency, who is 29 years old at the start of the story. And she is raised in a very strict family, very extremely conservative, very pharisaical. They pride themselves on, you know, their high morality and the way they live their lives, etc., and the choices that they make. But at the same time, they are not at all very loving. They're very critical of other people. They gossip about other people, that sort of thing. And they do not have any kindness or love for one another in their hearts, and they do not have good relationships with each other. So it's not a very wonderful environment to grow up in, as you can imagine. And Valency at the time of this story is 29 years old, but is kept under the thumb of her mom like a teenager, or worse even. She has nothing to call her own. She cannot make her own decisions in what she wears, what she does with her time. Like her mother and her aunt give her handwork to do, and she doesn't get to decide for herself. And she has never had a relationship with a guy at all. No one has ever expressed interest in her, but she's also been very shy and reserved and subdued because of her upbringing. She's kind of, this is a bit of a buzzword I don't necessarily like to use, but repressed by her mother. Her mother thinks of herself as, you know, a good, self-sacrificing, loving mother, but the reality is she's an awful mother. She doesn't care the least bit about her daughter. She only cares about appearances and doesn't take any time to nurture or nourish her daughter at all. So that's what Valency is growing up in. And when she turns 29, she finally gets up the courage to take herself to a doctor, not the doctor that the whole family goes to, but she goes to a different doctor. And she gets some news that kind of puts her on a course that totally changes her life. And she decides to break free of strictures that her family has her under. She decides to break free from feeling beholden or bound to her family in any way. And she begins to forge her own path in life. And we get to go on that journey with her. And it's definitely quite the ride. And she makes some good choices and some bad choices, but overall, she's not just throwing off restraint and then, you know, embracing a life of wickedness and excess. She just wants to be able to make her own choices and choose her life. And it's very well done in that sense. At the very beginning, when she first kind of breaks free from her family, I was thinking that it reminds me of how at certain ages in a child's development, they have this natural period of time when they are seeking greater independence. And one of those times is like the toddler years, like age 2 and 3. There's another one in the early preteen years or older elementary age. And then again in middle school is another huge burst, like for independence. When the children in their development, they aren't necessarily ready for greater maturity or responsibility, but they begin to have the desire for it. And so that then they begin to like act out and be defiant in a bid for independence. And it's a normal part of a child's development, and you have to help them to gain, like it's important to give them greater independence, but to the level that they are capable of handling, that they have the maturity of handling. But it's like Valency never went through those periods because her family never ever allowed her to gain any greater independence than when she was 2 or 3 years old. She was always kept completely dependent on them. So it's like when she was 29, she went through all of those stages all at once. And so she said whatever she thought to them, and she just felt whatever she felt. She didn't really stop to analyze or think through her feelings or what was causing it. She just did. And so I thought that was actually really well done and probably pretty realistic. One of the main ideas in this book is kind of like new birth or rebirth, like having a new life But in order to have a new life, you kind of have to die to the old life, which was definitely a big theme in this book. But there was another conversation in here that I really, really loved because there was so much truth in it. Valency is having a conversation with the hero of the story. And he says, "There's no such thing as freedom on earth," he said, "only different kinds of bondages and comparative bondages. You think you are free now because you've escaped from a peculiarly unbearable kind of bondage. But are you? You love me, that's a bondage." "Who said or wrote that the prison unto which we doom ourselves no prison is?" asked Valency dreamily, clinging to his arm as they climbed up the rock steps. "Ah, now you have it," said Barney. "That's all the freedom we can hope for, the freedom to choose our prison." So I thought that that was an interesting conversation, and definitely something that is explored in this book, and I really enjoyed that. I also think after reading this, that this is going to be one of the next books I will pick up, Becoming Free Indeed by Jinger, Duggar, Vuolo, which I have been wanting to read ever since it came out. My sister bought me a copy for my birthday, and I am looking forward very much to reading it. It's my story of disentangling faith from fear, and it's like the nonfiction version of this. I feel like there's going to be a lot of similarity in the themes and the process of finding freedom, true freedom, that isn't a freedom from bondage necessarily, but the freedom to choose your bondage, if that makes sense, which really does not make sense unless you have read this book, or maybe this one, and or think about it in biblical terms of, you know, the Bible says we are no longer slaves to sin, but we are slaves to Christ. Well, we are free in Christ, but we are also slaves to Christ. So it's a bit of a oxymoron happening there, a dichotomy, but it makes sense if you know. Anyway, so I really enjoyed reading that with Courtney and Morgan. And I'm looking forward to reading some of Lucy Montgomery's other standalone romance novels, like Kilmeny of the Orchard, I think is one, and there are a couple of others that I want to try. Again, I think I read them when I was younger, but I don't remember much about them. The other book that I finished, I read this as a result of my Try Chapter video that I did last week, and I ended up choosing this one, The Midnight Library. And I have heard mixed reviews about this one, and I can see why, because honestly, I have mixed feelings about it. This is one of those books that I can appreciate intellectually from a distance, because I really appreciated what the author was doing. And I thought it was an interesting concept, the way he did it. The idea is this girl, Nora, is, well, again, she's a grown woman, actually. She's 20 or 30 something. And she is feeling very much in despair with her life. She's, you know, got to the point where basically everything in her life that gives her purpose and meaning is taken from her in one way or another, either by choices she has made or by things that are out of her control. And so she decides that life is not worth living and she's going to end her life. But at the stroke of midnight, as she has taken an overdose, she is transferred to this midnight library that is full of books, infinite number of books, that are all other possible directions that her life could have taken. And so she gets the opportunity, as long as the midnight library stays open, she can go in and out of different lives and see, well, what would have happened if I had made this choice instead? What would my life look like? And she gets a chance to work through various regrets that she has, and wishes that she never followed through on, dreams that she never pursued. And she begins to experience what would happen if she pursued those dreams, or if she undid those regrets, and see where life would take her. Would she feel differently? Would she still want to take her life? And the whole idea in the end is very similar to the movie It's a Wonderful Life. The idea that, one, your life as it is never worthless. It's valuable, and you do touch other people that you may not realize. And you are meaningful and important to other people, whether or not you realize it. But it's also a lot more than that. It's not just that. One thing that she discovered was that in every single other life of hers that she tried, except for the notable exception of one, in every single other life that she tried, she, at the core, had some of the same emotional issues. She still dealt with anxiety and depression, and she still had regrets, and she still had, you know, what ifs in her mind. And also, the other thing that she learned as she experienced these other lives was that none of them were really her, because it wasn't her root life, as it was called in the book. And none of them were really her, so she wasn't able to fully engage emotionally in it. She got really close in one life, but she wasn't able to fully engage in that because it wasn't fully her. And in the end, which, you know, you could kind of see this a mile coming, but in the end, she finds that her own life is the one that is worth living, and that there are still possibilities she can explore. There are still regrets that she can undo, and she still has time to re-engage in her life and be who she is at her core. And that's the primary message of it. So it's very life affirming, and I really appreciated that about it. And I really appreciated the creativity of the exploration of it. At least it was creative for me. I had never read a book with quite that same concept. There may be others, but I don't know them. So I enjoyed the magical realism aspect of it, the speculative aspect of it. What if you could, you know, undo this or redo that? And I enjoy that aspect of it. But what I did not enjoy was mostly really the biggest thing that frustrated me was the language. And honestly, I would normally, in a book with that level of language, of strong language, I would have put it down a lot sooner. But I think that the idea in it, and I could tell that the author was getting at something really good and sharing a really valuable story, that I was able to look past that. So I still found something of value in it. I don't think I'm going to keep the copy or reread it, but I am glad that I read it. I don't regret reading it. And I just think that the message was maybe a little bit obscured by the use of language, which to me was unnecessary and excessive. And there wasn't any like outright graphic content in this book, you know, in terms of like sexual content or whatever. But there was definitely some content in there that I disagreed with to one extent or another. But again, it wasn't dwelt on. It wasn't a key part of the story. It was just things that were mentioned or made mention of, and it wasn't the main idea in the story. So again, it did not affect my actual reading of the story, but I saw that it was there. So I understand, I totally get where the mixed reviews are for this. So I understand why people would put this down and not finish reading it. And I totally understand why people love it also. All of that makes sense to me. So I personally have kind of mixed feelings about it myself. In the end, because of that, I settled on giving it a 3.5 stars because overall I liked what the author was doing, and in the end where he went with this story. I know some people complain about it being too simplistic. They were wanting some kind of deeper truth, or to have the topic of suicide dealt with in a deeper way. It didn't come across that way to me, but it's not a topic that I have delved in at any depth at all. So I really don't have anything to say to that. But I personally enjoyed it. Just the language and some aspects of the content were a little bit off-putting for me. So that knocked it down a little bit. And it's not something that I would recommend unreservedly to anyone. It kind of depends on who you are and what sort of content you like to have in your books and triggers, that kind of stuff. You know, it's not an unreserved, sure, this is really great, everybody should read it book. So I can't give it 5 stars for that reason. And yeah, so I think I settled at about 3.5 stars. So that is that one. And I'm currently about 60% of the way through The Words We Lost by Nicole Deese, which I'm reading on my Kindle. and enjoying that one. And I will probably have an update for that later this week. I am picking back up The Heir of Redcliffe and buddy reading that with Miriam at Miriam Elizabeth Reads. I don't know if we'll finish that this week or not, but I hope to make some headway on that. Plus the other ongoing books that I haven't quite finished yet that I'm still very, very slowly working my way through. I have those as well. So anyway, it's been great to talk with you. I will have another clip or two for you before this week is over. And of course, I will also have an updated winner of the giveaway to share with you later on. So until next time. And I meant to show you while I was talking to you, you may have noticed the color on my fingers at the Memorial Day picnic at my church. One of my friends who is from India had her henna with her, and she was doing henna on everybody's hand. So she did a very basic design on mine because I had to leave to go meet family and I didn't have a great deal of time. So she did a quick basic design and then colored my fingertips with the henna. Isn't that so cool? Hello, it is Thursday evening, but I have a couple more bookish things to mention for this week. I may or may not be able to squeeze in another clip before I, at least regarding things that I've read. There may be some other exciting bookish content coming up from the weekend, but as far as what I've read and stuff, this might be the last clip about that. We'll see. We'll see how it goes, how much reading time I have. Kind of busy tomorrow and Saturday. So anyway, I picked this back up. It was one of the books in the Try a Chapter video that I did a week or two ago, and I was interested in it, but I was a little bit struck by how simplistic and elementary the narrative was, the prose in this novel. But at the same time, it was an intriguing concept, and I thought, you know, I might as well give it a try. So once I finished Midnight Library, which was the book that I chose to read after that video, I picked this one up, and I couldn't get more than 5 more pages, I don't think. And I just gave up because I couldn't handle, I'm going to be brutally honest. So if you love this book, good for you. That's perfectly fine. You're allowed to. And I can see how it would appeal to people. But for me, it just felt like I was reading, like I said, brutally honest here, I felt like I was reading a book that a child wrote. It's just very simplistic. So let me just read, let's see. Okay. I'm just going to read this little passage. And also, the main character, Fumiko, is just annoying the living daylights out of me. Being perfectly frank here. So, Fumiko addressed the woman in the dress politely. "Look, it will only be for a short while. Please, would you kindly allow me to sit there?" But it was as if her words hadn't reached the woman's ears. She continued reading without the slightest reaction. Being totally ignored like this darkened Fumiko's mood. She grabbed the woman's upper arm. "Stop, you mustn't do that," warned Kazu loudly. "Hey, stop just ignoring me." Fumiko tried to forcefully drag the woman in the dress from her seat. And then it happened. The woman in the dress's eyes widened and she glared at Fumiko fiercely. She felt as if the weight of her body had increased many times over. It felt as if dozens of heavy blankets had fallen over her. The light in the cafe dimmed to the brightness of candlelight. An unworldly wailing began to reverberate through the cafe. She was paralyzed. Unable to move a muscle, she dropped to her knees and then fell to a crawling position. "Ugh! What's happening? What's happening?" She had absolutely no idea what was going on. Kazu, in a smug told-you-so kind of way, simply said, "She cursed you." When Fumiko heard curse, she didn't understand at first. "Huh?" she asked with a groan. Unable to withstand this invisible force that seemed to be getting stronger, Fumiko was now lying face down on the floor. What? What is this? What's going on?" "It's a curse. You went ahead and did what you did, and she cursed you," said Kazu as she slipped back into the kitchen, leaving Fumiko sprawled on the floor. I read a few more pages after that, and then I was like, peace out. Bye-bye. So, I gave up on that one. DNF. I also finished reading The Words We Lost by Nicole Deese, which many people have really loved, including my sister in our video last week. If you saw it, she gave it 5 stars. Was one of her recent 5-star reads. And someone else on BookTube, a couple people recently have read it and given it 5 stars and rave reviews. I enjoyed it very much. I think I would settle on a 4-star rating for that one. It's about, the main character is, I literally just finished reading it and now I couldn't tell you her name. Okay, her friend's name was Cece, and then Joel was Indy was the girl's name that most of the story was told from her point of view. So Indy is, at the beginning of the book, clearly struggling with grief and loss, and also there's some feeling of betrayal from things that had happened. Her best friend had passed away unexpectedly about 8 months prior to where this story starts, and she's still dealing with the aftermath of that. It's set within the publishing industry, and her best friend was a best-selling author, and she was the editor for her books. So there was another, like, they had a professional connection as well. And then there's, as part of her job as editor in the publishing industry, and particularly being her friend Cece's editor, plays a huge part in the plot that follows. Also, Cece's cousin Joel was a very good friend of hers as well. In high school, they had been boyfriend and girlfriend for a while. I'm not sure if they had gotten to the point of being engaged or not, but they definitely were moving that direction when some things happened. And so there's a past there, and there's a lot that our character Indy has to overcome. Plus, she has her father was an issue in her life. He was a single dad for most of her growing up years, and if it hadn't been for her friends Cece and Joel and their families that kind of took her in, she would have been kind of lost as a, she wouldn't have had the kind of raising, I guess. Like, her dad was sort of unreliable and not always on the up and up, So Indy has a lot going on in her life. So her story is a pretty heavy one, and this is about how she overcomes some of that and how she's able to work through some of her grief and some of her feelings of betrayal, and how she's able to arrive at a place of forgiveness and reconciling her past and reconciling her father's past and all of that kind of stuff. So dealing with a lot of heavy stuff, and I will say I feel like very well done. In the novel setting, there's definitely strong faith that goes into her healing process, and the love and care of the people around her, of her support system that are able to help her through her healing process. All of that I really enjoyed, and it was very good. I guess I just didn't get as absorbed into this story as I did in the other one that I read by her, which was All That Really Matters. That really just gripped me almost from the beginning and kept me reading. I didn't feel that with this one as much, and it may be more me than anything else, just because I picked it up in a busy time of year and I had some other books going on at the same time, and until I finished those, there was some distraction with that, and then there was distraction with life and family events and school events and church events and all this stuff. So I think I just wasn't as drawn into it. When I got about to the 75% mark, then it was like, ooh, I really want to read this, and I didn't want to put it down. But that was a long way in for me. Up until that point, I was enjoying it, and I kept picking it back up, but it wasn't like enthralling me. So it was good, but in my experience, where I was right now, it was not great. But I did enjoy it, and I think it's a great book by Nicole Deese, so I do recommend. If that sounds like something, like the type of story that you'd be interested in, it's very well done. So, great book by Nicole Deese, and that is my update on reading right now. So, I will close for now, and I will probably have 1 or 2 more clips to share with you before this video is set to go. So, see you in a bit. Okay, it is Saturday evening, and I need to get this video uploaded and out into the whole wide world. But I just wanted to wrap everything up with final update for the week. I have not finished anything since my last clip, but I feel like I'm in the middle of about 100 things. So I have made progress on Les Miserables. I have made progress on And the Dead Shall Rise. And I am reading this. This changes everything. little more than a third way of the way through, hoping to finish that this coming week. I have also started this, Becoming Free Indeed. I'm really enjoying it. It's very readable and interesting and a very personable. So I'm enjoying that a lot, actually, and that won't take long to read, I don't think. And I'm also in the middle of, well, not in the middle of, I just started The Vanishing at Castle Moreau by Jamie Jo Wright, but I put pause on it because Lindsay was offering to buddy read it with me, and so I thought that would be fun. So I much prefer to read it with someone than by myself. So pause that until she can grab hold of a copy. And then I am buddy reading The Heir of Redcliffe with Miriam, and we are about to chapter 20. So that's almost halfway through that book, and the pace is starting to pick up a little bit in that one. I had struggled with it the first 10 to 15 chapters, but after that it started to pick up the pace a little bit, and the plot started to become a plot. It got a little more interesting, so I'm definitely enjoying that more. And also it's way more fun to read it with someone than just by yourself, so I'm enjoying that. So yeah, I've got like a million irons in the fire, so to speak. Still working on them. But I wanted to close with something fun. So there was a Mid-Atlantic BookTuber meetup today. So there were some BookTubers and some BookTube watchers who gathered not far from me, about 45 minutes from my house. I got to meet some of my favorite BookTubers who are sort of in the area to me, and I got to meet some new ones as well. It was organized by Krista at Books and Jams and Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand. So thank you so much for organizing that. It was fantastic getting to meet you guys. And I also met Elena at, I believe her channel is Elena's Bookshelf. Sorry if I got that wrong. I'll have the correct channel name and everything in the description box. I should have been a good girl and written all this down, but I did not. And Chrissy from Chrissy's Purple Library was there, so that was so fun to meet her in person. And I also met Renee from Beyond Books, and her channel is about the same age as mine. So it was fun to meet someone else who didn't have like a long established BookTube career behind them. Then there were some other BookTube watchers there who just enjoy reading, and it was just so much fun to talk books with everybody. We ate lunch together, and then we swapped books. We all brought a few books that we were unhauling, and so we just, other people took ones that they wanted, and then we all went to McKay's, which is a local used bookstore. It's huge. And we got to turn in any books that we wanted to sell to them, and then of course, we did a little book shopping. How cute are these? Poem by Longfellow, Tennyson, Poe, short story. Coleridge. So cool. I am actually going to go ahead and show you the books I got from there. And while I'm at it, I might as well just finish up with a little bit of a haul from the whole month of May, because I don't know when I'll have time to do a separate video for it. So that might make this video a little bit longish, but you know, par for the course around here. So at McKay's, first of all, I got this super, super cute. There was a whole collection of these and they were $3 each. I don't know if you can see. It's probably full of arsenic because it's like a green little leather bound book. And my understanding is that the green color was made with arsenic. It's Enoch Arden by Tennyson. And you can see how it fits in the palm of my hand. And it's just this thin little book. It was only $3. Look at the back. So adorable. And you can see on the inside cover, I don't know if you can see like the embossing from the front. And then it's just like little pocket size. So cute. I just realized, okay, so I got this in Search of a Prince. And Toshikazu was actually a local author to me. She lives literally in the next town over. She was at a bookstore a couple more towns over not that long ago. And I was unfortunately not able to go. It was a crazy busy day for me. My sister went, but I was unable to go. Anyway, this book has been on my TBR for a while. It's in my reading journal plans of books that I want to read that were released, I think last year. New releases that I just haven't gotten to, and I would like to read it. I've kind of put it off a little bit because it's not like my favorite type of story, but she's a local author, she's a Christian author, and I have liked other books I've read by her, so I want to get to read that. And then, as I was looking at it just now, I saw that it was signed by Toshikazu. So, got that. And then this one, How to Read a Book. At a school I used to work at, this was in the school library, and I started reading it. But I felt like it was a little dry, and I never quite finished it. And so I had to put it back at the school library. And I checked one out of the library recently because I've been thinking I really want to read it again, or finish reading it. And I checked it out of the library, but I'm just not sure I'm going to get to it before I have to turn it back to the library. So I found this copy for not very much money, and it's in perfect condition. So looking forward to reading that. And then I added all of Randy Alcorn's fiction to my TBR want to read list after I read Heaven by him. I have read one other fiction book by him, Safely Home, which I loved. It was very impactful. And so I'm really interested in this totally different type of book. I think it's like apocalyptic or speculative or something like that. Mystery, suspense, whatever. Something along a little more, not just, I don't want to say a little more intense, because Safely Home was intense, but in a drama sort of way. I feel like there's like dangerous things happening in this one. But I'm looking forward to reading that one. I specifically was looking for this one because it's on my TBR for June as part of the Tea and Ink Society Classics Reading Challenge. We were supposed to read a book by a U.S. Southern author in the month of June, and I chose this book, and I got this beautiful copy. Look at the back. It's just pretty, for 99 cents. So, and deckled edges. Like most of the books I got were deckled edges for some reason. Not intentionally. And then the last book that I got at McKay was this Literary Washington, D.C., which is like essays and short stories or scenes set in D.C. by various classic authors like Louisa May Alcott, Charles Dickens, Emily Dickinson, Mark Twain, etc. And other authors too, all genres and types. So I thought that was interesting, being I have lived most of my life not far from Washington, D.C., so that just really intrigued me. So that was what I bought at McKay's. And then at the book swap that we had, I got this, and this was totally a cover pick because, I mean, you can see it just looks pretty cool, right? But it's like a translucent jacket. See that? And then look at the actual cover. I mean, how cool is that? So that's the main reason I picked it up. But the second reason I picked it up, it is because it's by the same author who wrote Wicked, which I've not read, but I've seen the musical. And this is a spinoff of Alice in Wonderland. So I am really intrigued by that. I love any kind of like retelling or, you know, a book that works off of a classic book. I like that kind of thing. So it looks really interesting and the cover is just amazing. So I got that one. And then this is an author that I want to try. I have been warned by some people and by my sister, I think, that there is probably content that I will not want to read. So I believe that, so I'm holding it loosely, but it is on my list of authors that I want to try. So I'm gonna try it, see what happens, so I can cross it off my list. And then Becoming Lewis by Patty Callahan. I have her Once Upon a Wardrobe here on my shelf that I've not read yet, and many people have talked about this one, so I am interested in reading that one as well. So that was my haul from today. Then I have some more from my sisters. So this is from one sister. This sister she's like cleaning out and decluttering and downsizing, etc. and moving as she's moving. And so she had she had already given me some books that I put in my most recent haul video that were like her inventory from her reselling business, but this was from her personal collection. There was some Christian fiction that she had. So I grabbed these. A Hope Undaunted by Julie Lessman. Julie Lessman is a little bit hit or miss for me, but I have liked some of hers, so I thought I would give that a try. Honeysuckle Dreams by Denise Hunter. Again, hit or miss for me, and this is one like a beach read or an escape read or a sick day read, that kind of thing. Holiday read. And then Lynn Austin, All She Ever Wanted, which I would like to read more Lynn Austin. I've read one, maybe two by her, and she is a really good writer, so I'm gonna read some more by her. And then my other sister had picked this up, and she knew that I had some books by this author. Well, at least she knew that it was Jane Austen, so that's a buzzword for me. And this is Jane Austen's First Love by Siri James, who is the best-selling author of The Missing Manuscript of Jane Austen, which I have read and really enjoyed. And I have a couple of other books by her on my shelf, one of which I've read and one of which I've not. So I would enjoy anything Austen. I'm here for it. And then my other sister, I actually need to ask her if she was giving me this or just letting me borrow it. And this was, we'd had a conversation about this one and I had expressed interest. So she was bringing it up for me to try reading it. And that is The Brilliance of Stars by Janelle Chiselski. I don't know how to say that exactly. I've read one. I read Beauty Among Ruins by her, which was good, but not my favorite. But I am interested in reading this. I think my sister had read The Ice One and really liked it. Or maybe that's one she didn't like. I can't remember. Anyways, I am going to read that one and give it a try. And then I have two gifts from fellow booktubers for my birthday. Dia sent me this, which I have listened to some of this on audio, and it's been on my TBR for like ages. And this is Classical Music to Enjoy Day by Day, The Year of Wonder. I forgot there were a bunch of stickers in there and they all came tumbling out. So let's look at the stickers. Pause. So, and of course, there's a cup of coffee or tea, whatever you wanna. It's from Dia, so it's tea. And then I love books. I need to get myself a new water bottle so I can put this all over them. All right, and then what does it say? There's a million books I haven't read, but just you wait. So true, right? And then I love this. Drink good coffee, read good books. Like basically my life motto. Drink, read, love. And there's one more. How cute is that? The coffee cup on the books. So adorable. Anyway, so this book like goes through the months of the year, and then for each day of the month there is a particular piece of music and then just a page about that music and just information about the song, thoughts about it, about the composer, etc. So any day of the year you can pick one of these and just listen to it and really gain an appreciation for some of the most beautiful pieces of music that exist. So, and I love Wonder. See? I love it. And then, so thank you, Dia, for that. And then Miriam, as a gift for reaching 500 subscribers, she sent Shirley to me. She just read it recently. I really loved it. I read it a long time ago and I remember loving it, but I remember almost nothing about it besides that. I know I wrote down a whole bunch of quotes in my quote book about it, from this book, and it really resonated with me, but other than that, I don't remember much about it. And so she sent this to me, so that is fantastic. And I have a box set of Bronte books, but for some reason this one is not in it. So I was happy to actually have a copy of this so that I can finish reading/rereading all the Brontes. So that is my haul. The last thing I want to mention is that I'm going to be reading Children of the Stars by Mario Escobar with Alma at Alma's Book Journey and Jeanette at Jane Reads. And I think that there are a couple of other people reading in the group with us in the Buddy Read. We're reading 3 chapters a day. So I am going to dig into that tonight after I post this video and get that started. And I am looking forward to that. It's been on my shelf for several years and I'm glad to be finally reading it. So there you have it. That is my week. Thank you for sticking with me this far. If you have made it this far, all the way to the end, put a stack of books emoji in the comments section so that I can appreciate your kindness and sticking around with me. And let me know how your week went and what books you have been reading that you've been enjoying and what you are digging into now. And I will see you next time. Bye. And I can't believe I almost forgot one more thing. I am going to spin for the winner of the giveaway that I posted last week for my 500 subscribers celebration. And I put everybody's name who entered a comment into this spinner. So I am going to click to spin and see who the winner is. The winner is Water Bear Reads. So I will be getting in touch with you. So I will give you either an item from your Amazon or Thrift Books wish list or sending you an Amazon or Thrift Books gift card, whichever you prefer. So I'll be in touch with you, or you can respond to your comment here on this, on the video. And so we can touch base and get you your prize. So thank you so much for watching and for commenting, and I will see you all next time. Bye.